Mr. Zhulkarnain Abdul Rahim.
Last year's budget had set us on the course to brave the storm of this pandemic by helping businesses, workers, and families. We had also planted the seeds of growth on the SG Green Plan through sustainability efforts and green financing. Our consistent and careful handling of the COVID-19 crisis has led to greater confidence not only in Singapore, but the region as well. However, we are not out of the woods yet. New challenges have emerged in the course of the past year. COVID-19 and its variants have tested our system and the resilience of our people. But we have prevailed thanks to the cooperation and understanding of everyone. This is also assisted by the various schemes like the JSS, COVID-19 Relief Grant, and the JGI, just to name a few. We are also facing a period of global economic uncertainty and higher energy prices given the recent developments in the Ukraine region. With these challenges we now face, I agree with Minister Lawrence Wong that we have to further strengthen our social compact as one people, more so now than ever before. In this regard, in my Committee of Supply Cuts, I will focus on three main areas. First, strengthen our institutions and relations. This includes strengthening our total defense and relevance of national service to our people and new citizens, maintaining and improving our relationship with other countries in the region and all over the world. Second, prepare our people to be secure and confident to face a post-COVID world. That means maximizing the potential of everyone, especially the most vulnerable, like ex-offenders. Instead of offenders, they can become overcomers through our help in the rehabilitation and reintegration into the workforce and society. We must also look at the retirement security of not only our seniors, but entire communities by considering reforms to make it easier and affordable for Singaporeans to plan for their retirement and their future. Third, invest in our next generations through technology, education, and skills required for the future. This involves not just targeting young people or students, but also working with their parents, educators, and industry players. How we support the young determines how they will grow to support our country in the future. However, all these goals and aspirations will only remain as a wish list if we do not have the fiscal discipline and proper planning to finance our plans in the future. This Budget 2022 gives us the springboard to do so. Mr. Speaker, in Malay, please. Belanjawan ini lebih besar daripada tahun lalu. Jumlah perbelanjaan melebihi 100 bilion dolar, iaitu 4 bilion lebih tinggi daripada anggaran 2021. Walaupun pendapatan diunjurkan lebih tinggi daripada tahun lepas, ini tidak mencukupi untuk menampung perbelanjaan berulang kita. Unjuran kedudukan fiskal keseluruhan untuk tahun ini ialah defisit kira-kira 3 bilion dolar. Oleh itu, terdapat keperluan untuk meningkatkan pendapatan, bukan saja untuk perbelanjaan semasa dan masa depan, tetapi untuk simpanan bagi generasi anak-anak kita. Ramai yang membincangkan tentang GST. Menteri Lawrence Wong telah menjelaskan sebab dan hakikat bahawa kenaikan GST akan diadakan secara berperingkat dan hanya akan berlaku tahun depan dan seterusnya. Bagaimanapun, saya dimaklumkan oleh beberapa penduduk Choa Chu Kang bahawa mereka sudah melihat beberapa kedai dan gerai yang menaikkan harga runcit. Walaupun tidak jelas sama ada ini disebabkan jangkaan kenaikan GST atau faktor yang lain, seperti kenaikan harga tenaga dan bekalan, saya mengalukan penubuhan pasukan petugas oleh pemerintah untuk menangani pencatutan harga dan mereka yang mengambil kesempatan daripada kenaikan GST yang akan datang sebagai alasan untuk menaikkan harga. Pasukan petugas bukannya benda yang baru, tetapi sudah juga ditubuhkan semasa kenaikan GST pada 2007. Sistem GST kita adalah progresif dan ciri voucher GST kekal serta pemindahan lain mempunyai kesan membantu mereka yang paling memerlukan. Pada masa yang sama, ia juga bermakna penjimatan kos pentadbiran dan pelaksanaan. Peningkatan dalam GST sahaja tidak dapat menampung perbelanjaan kita, terutamanya perbelanjaan penjagaan kesihatan yang akan terus meningkat. Dalam masa yang sama, walaupun pemerintah telah menggunakan rizab negara untuk menghadapi krisis COVID-19 ini bukan sesuatu yang berterusan. Kita perlu mengambil langkah untuk mengurangkan defisit belanjawan akan datang. Mr. Speaker, sir, as stated, this year's budget will be an even bigger deficit. What this means is that we need to do three things. First, work hard. Second, spend smart. And third, save more. First, given the continued impact and uncertainty of the pandemic and global situation, we have to continue to work hard in our economic recovery and strengthen our social compact. I'm glad that we have come up with many efforts for close coordination between ministries and agencies in specific areas, which would also give us the ability to work harder together. For example, the Singapore Green Plan 2030 involved various government agencies working in concert, along with a whole of society effort to meet a global challenge. Just like the saying, if you want to run fast, run alone. If you want to run further, run together. In recent years, MOF has also developed a number of joint budgets to ensure better alignment and greater efficiency and value. We have seen these efforts in the Smart Nation initiative, for example. What other whole-of-government efforts can be better coordinated across ministries and agencies so that we can also attain greater efficiency and savings in implementation? For instance, I would suggest that the recommendations of the Task Force on Family Violence be considered for potential implementation, not just by MSF alone, but on a whole of government effort. With regard to the pandemic, thus MOF tracked the coordination of efforts and resources by MTF and the various agencies and ministries related to the COVID-19 pandemic. This would be useful for future studies on the impact of the pandemic and how much it costs our country to provide the necessary support and response. I would suggest a multi-ministerial consolidated budget or allocation to address any future crisis. This would also provide a more accurate picture of non-crisis related expense by a particular ministry or agency. Second, spend smart. In my work with the Parliament Estimates Committee, we looked at the government's budget to see how improvements can be made to increase efficiency. In the course of the past year, we have also introduced various legislation which has helped in this. One example is the Significant Infrastructure Government Loan Act, SINGA, which allows government borrowings for major national infrastructure projects that will last for at least 50 years. If I may clarify, can Minister illustrate how significant the financial impact of SINGA has been on this year's and future budgets in an easy-to-read and digestible manner? With such explanations or regular reports, Singaporeans can understand that the borrowing will not only help free up our spending capacity, but at the same time not be a burden to future generations. Next, streamlining our tax system. One example is the Land Betterment Charge Act, LBC, which streamlines the previous framework for tax collection. Under the previous framework, landowners and developers have to pay either the URA or SLA, a development charge, or temporary development levy, or a differential premium. However, now under the new Act, the LBC will replace all these previous charges and collected by just one agency, SLA. This is a good example of making things more efficient. I have a clarification. Would MOF be looking into streamlining the imposition and collection of other charges to ensure greater efficiency? Is there a specific department that looks into this? Our tax system is admittedly already simpler and less complicated to navigate than other jurisdictions, but we can still see how to make it more efficient. Perhaps just like how we set targets on right-sizing government spending with the 5-year block budget framework, MOF can similarly set targets to trim down the number and types of taxes too. Third, save more. Besides cutting on costs and spending smart, we must save more into our reserves. Our country does not have any other viable natural resources. NIRC is already now the single largest source of revenue. We cannot be over-reliant on this alone. We cannot tax this golden goose. Now is the time for us to start planning to put more into our reserves for the future generations. Would MOF set some targets within the next 5 years to reinvest more of our investment returns to build up our reserves and explore more revenue streams to complement our investment income? Hopefully with such targets, we will be able to save more for our children and their children. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, we must continue to work hard, spend smart, and save more for Singaporeans of today and Singaporeans of tomorrow. I stand in support of the budget.